Hello. In this lecture, we will be studying about system programs. In the previous lecture, we studied about system call and we saw how the system call works. Now here we are going to see system programs and what they are used for. So an important aspect of a modern system is the collection of system programs. So in order to understand what the system programs are and where the system program resides in a computer system hierarchy, let us look at the diagram of the computer system hierarchy that we discussed previously. So as we see, this is the diagram of a computer system hierarchy that we have discussed previously. So if we look at this, we find that in the lowest level we have our computer hardware, which comprise resources like CPU, memory and input-output devices. And just on the top of that we have the operating system, and on top of this operating system we have the system programs, and on top of the system programs we have our application programs like the word processor, spreadsheet, compiler, text editor, web browser and so on. Then we have the users here who are interacting with the system. So we are going to discuss today is about the system program. So we see that system programs are just above the operating system. Now we will see what are these system programs and what they are used for, and we will also see some examples of system program, and we will also study how we can categorize our system programs into different categories based on the kind of task that they perform. So system programs provide a convenient environment for program development and execution. Some of them are simply user interfaces to system calls. So we will understand this when we take an example. Some of these are simple user interface system calls, while others are considerably complex. Now we will see how we categorize this system programs into different categories based on the kind of task that they perform. So system program can be divided into the following categories. We will see the categories one by one. The first one being file management. So the system program that helps in managing our files fall under the category of file management system programs. For example, they help to create files, delete files, copy files, rename files, print file, dump file or list files, and in generally we can say that they help in manipulating files and directories. So the system program that help in manipulating files and directories or fall under the category of file management system program. Now let's see what is the next one. So the next one is status information. So the system program that falls under this category are those system programs that ask the system for its status information. Like for example, it can ask a system for the system's date and time. It can ask the amount of available memory or disk spaces, and it also can ask for the number of the users, and also it can ask for other detailed performance and also other complex information like logging and debugging information, etc. So all the system programs that are dealing with the status information of a system, they fall under the category of status information system program. And then the next one is file modification. So these are the system programs that help in modifying our files. So we may be thinking what is the difference between file management and file modification, because we have just discussed the file management is the first point. Now file management deals with the outer layer of your file. That means like creating your file, deleting your file, renaming, copying, moving and so on. But file modification deals with modifying the inner contents of your file. So if you want to modify the inner content of your file, you use a system program which falls under the category of file modification. So we have several text editors which may be available to create and modify the contents of files stored on disk or other storage devices, and then also maybe special commands to search the contents of the files or perform transformation of the text. So we see that if we want to modify the contents of the file, like modifying or transforming the text or anything like that, for that we have the system program which fall under the category of file modification, which helps us to accomplish the task. Now coming to the next one. The next one is programming language support. So these are the system programs that provide us with the programming language support. So there are different programming languages like C, C++, Java, Visual Basic, Perl and so on. Now our system may have to compile and run programs that are written in these kinds of different languages. So our system must have support for this programming languages. Otherwise, it will not be able to compile or run these kinds of programs. So in order to give us support for these programming languages, there are system programs that help in providing us with this programming language support. So these are things like compilers, assemblers, debuggers and interpreters for common programming languages such as these, which are often provided to the user with the operating system. So these things are usually provided with the operating system so that our system will be able to compile the codes that are written in these languages so that our system works flawlessly. Even if it has to compile some source code related to some programming languages, so the programs which gives you the support of these programming languages, they fall under the category of programming language support system program. Now the next one is loading and execution. So in the previous point we saw that our programs were compiled and assembled using those system programs which fall under the programming language support category. Now after a program has been loaded and executed, so in order to do that, there are some system programs that allow us or help us to do that. So those are the system programs that fall under the category of program loading and executions. So it says once a program is assembled or compiled, it must be loaded into memory and executed. So once your compilation and assembling things are done, you need to load the program to the memory so that it can be compiled. So the system may provide you with different tasks to complete, like the absolute loaders, relocatable loaders, linkage editors and overlay loaders. Also sometimes debugging system for higher languages or machine language are needed as well. So debugging means whenever there is a problem in your code or in anything, you need to find out what is the problem and solve that problem. So that is we mean by debugging, and the program responsible for this task is known as debuggers. So debuggers also may be necessary. So all these programs that help in loading the programs and executing the programs fall under the category of program loading and execution system programs. Now coming to the last one, we have communications. So these are the system programs that help in communications. So even when we discuss about system calls, we had the system call that helped in communication. So in the same way, the system program that help in communication between processes and users, or allow users to surf the web and so on. These system programs fall under this category of communication. So these programs provide the mechanism for creating virtual connection among processes, users and computer systems. And they also allow users to send messages to one another's screen, to browse web pages, to send electronic mail messages, that is email, and to log in remotely or to transfer files from one machine to another. So we see that all these tasks are related to communication. That are the things that we are talking about here. So the system program that helps you in this communication process are fall under this category of communication system programs.